All right, fellas, thanks for joining. So I got a couple announcements real quick. Here we go. May 4th, we have Ryan Lightfoot, the Director of Player Development at GCU. He's going to be joining us as one of the speakers for that day. And then on May 19th, we have John Santignon. He was a FIBA coach out in Europe, Middle East, Asia, here in the US D1 as well. He was also the John Wooden Award winner when he played basketball. And then there's Hernando Planels. He was a G League coach. He worked at Duke. Now he's at Masters University. So great guys. They're going to be giving great information. And Hernando has a book for us. It is called right here. If I could just move this. Persuasive, high performing gratitude. There you go. So that's his book, and all of you guys are going to get that for free. So you guys are getting that book for free, and we're going to send that to you guys at one of your practices. All right. So we'll go ahead and start with this. All right. So here's our title. Let me just change that. There's my beautiful wife and my son. All right, character, attitude, and the 17 indisputable laws of teamwork. All right, so we'll flip this around. So here we go. Everybody knows who this guy is. All right, John Wooden. He's won 10 championships. You can't say too much about him, but this guy is regarded as the best college basketball coach ever. And here's what he says: be more concerned with your character than your reputation, because your character is what you really are, while your reputation is merely what others think of you. And so what this is really saying is that a lot of us are really concerned about our reputation. Oh, what did they say about that guy? Is he a good basketball player, or did he do something wrong? There's rumors. Oh, that guy, he must have done something, or he's not good, right? It doesn't really matter what people say. This is what he's saying, because who you really are, that's what's the most important thing. So you're going to know who you really are. And so that goes to my next point. I have a story about character. So a little bit about myself. I went to Walnut High School back in 2000 to 2004. And I had this situation where I think I had too many missed classes, too many not absences, too many tardies, and I had detention. And so I was given detention, but I forgot to go to it because I had practice. So my counselor comes up to me in the morning. He says, "Hey, did you go to detention yesterday?" And I was like, "No, I totally forgot I had basketball practice. I thought I was going to be in trouble." He's like, "Oh, you're good. I'm gonna just switch it to tomorrow. Make sure you're there." I'm like, "Okay, perfect. Thank you. Didn't get in trouble." So the next day I forget as well. And then, you know, he asked me that next morning, "Hey, did you go to detention?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh, okay. Just checking up on you. Thanks." And then he asked me again, during lunchtime. He was like, "Hey, I wanted to know, what'd you do in detention? You do any homework or anything?" And then I was like, "Yeah, I did some homework, just was chilling, being quiet because that's what I'm supposed to do, right?" And he's like, "Okay, cool." And then later on in fifth period, he calls me up. He was like, "Hey, come to my office." So I go to his office. Like, "Look, I gave you two chances to be able to tell me the truth." And he's like, "You didn't tell me the truth. If you would have told me the truth at the first time," he's like, I would have let you slide in and do it again." But he's like, "But now I'm gonna give you Saturday attention." And so that story really sticks with me. Why? Because it was my character. I didn't tell the truth at that moment. And so now I look like I'm a liar, you know, even though I made a mistake, now my character is very poor because, you know, of my decision. And so when you're in conflict and when you have situations like this, even in life, it's like, what are you going to do? How are you going to respond to that? Which goes into my next point of integrity. Now we have this definition is by C.S. Lewis, and his definition of integrity is doing what is right when no one is watching. So, for instance, in basketball, you have weight training, you have conditioning, you have skill training, you have competition, right? So all of these things, he's like, you can people see a lot of this stuff. You know, sometimes you're even posting it on your Instagram. But what about the times that you're not posting on Instagram? What about the times that no one sees you? You're in your backyard. You know, are you actually really working out? Are you at home? Are you smoking weed? Are you going out to eat? Are you partying? Are you drinking? Or are you like in the weight room? Are you in the gym? Are you living there? You know what I'm saying? Are you Instagram hooper or you're a life hooper? And so that's the type of integrity that you need to have to be an amazing basketball player. And not just amazing basketball player, but amazing person. Like it's hard to have that type of thinking, that mentality. So, what are some things that you guys can control? And I kind of wanted to ask some questions. Give me, let's see, if you guys have any suggestions, Kunal, DJ, Angel, um, what are some things that you guys can control on the basketball court?
I would say your effort.
Okay, effort. Your effort is one.
I'd say your attitude.
Your attitude. All right. So those are great things. Thank you guys for answering, and that is correct. You can't control what the other defender is doing. You can try to go by him, right? And maybe he fouls you. You might be faster than him, but doesn't mean you're going to beat him, right? So what you can control is your attitude. So although feelings and emotions are a part of what make up your attitude, it's actually more complex than that. And so what is attitude? It's the behavior of evaluating a situation and choosing how to respond. Your attitude, you can control your attitude and how you respond to situations, right? Things might not be going your way. You might be losing by 50 points. What is your attitude like? Scouts are going to see that. Coaches are going to see that. And, you know, when coaches see that you have bad attitude, it's like, oh man, I don't want to put that guy in the game. He's not ready to win right now. You know, we're okay. Hey, the game is on the line, and the guys, you're looking down the bench as a coach and you're like, man, who's ready, who wants to get in this game, who's itching to get in the game, and you know you're sitting back, laid back like this, and you're like, yeah, whatever, I don't care, coach isn't going to put me in. You know, those are the times and situations that you really need to give your best. All right, so if you guys don't know this, I suggest that you look it up. It's the story of Job. It's in the Bible. Job was considered a righteous man, a man of character, a man of integrity. And so the story goes that pretty much he had all the worst things that could happen to him in his life. He lost his servants; they died. His home was destroyed. His children died. His wife died. All these things even happened to him. I think he got sick. Maybe he had like boils and all kinds of crazy things happened to him. And so he had some friends. Some of his friends were saying, "Man, you did something wrong. God is punishing you." His other friend was like, "Oh, you know, you should just curse God because you know he did this to you, and you're supposed to be this righteous man, and look what he did. He doesn't even care about you." But how Job chose to respond was to just praise God and thank him, and his attitude was different, and so God blessed him with even more servants. He was even more rich than he already was, and then he God gave him an even more beautiful wife, and he had more children as well. And so I mean, obviously it's sad to lose all your servants and your friends and uh your family, but God still blessed him. And the moral of that story was of what do you choose to do in conflict? It's to have a good attitude, and that is really what's going to push people. Why? Because basketball is 90% mental and 10% physical. And this quote comes from a book called Inside the Game, and it's a book about tennis, but it's a tennis instructor, and it's great for coaches and people that play basketball or any other sport because it talks more about the mental aspect of the game and how important it is to be successful and to have good skills. Angel, as I've been training you for a little while as well, I always said this to you because you're a great shooter, but there is those times where it's like you can be like 100% just on fire, like Steph Curry, and then the next thing you like airball, and you already know this, and I give this example because sometimes you get in your own head, and you said that, and then but when you're on there mental wise, like you can be one of the best shooters out there. So we see that this is such an important aspect to what kind of basketball player you are. All right. So now I'm going to go into the 17 indisputable laws of teamwork. This is something very important as you guys become leaders on a team. If you're not a leader, if you're not a captain, you need to try to work to become a leader because in being a leader, it helps you to become a better basketball player. It helps you be accountable. And so here are some laws that will help you to become a better basketball player, a better team player. Okay, so teamwork is the combined action of a group that works together to obtain a certain goal. So look at the Spurs here. Look at this teamwork. Like they're just passing the ball. Look at that quick give and go touch. Bam. Man, this is so beautiful, like the type of basketball that is being played here. And yet, look, most people don't give this extra pass. Like so many of the guys could have had a shot, and yet they chose to give it to the next person. Some people might say that's too much, being too unselfish, but look at how they're moving. They're passing, they're cutting, they're looking for the next guy. He could have shot it right there, he could have shot it there, but they're always just looking for the better pass because of the teamwork they have. Here we go. Teamwork is the key to success. So the 17 indisputable laws of teamwork were written by John Maxwell. He's a very famous leader, uh, very famous author on leadership. And there are some positive effects on teams and life. And these laws can apply to all areas of sports and communities. So these laws are very foundational to teamwork. And so this is what we're going to continue to talk about. So a basketball team is like 5 fingers. All right. If you can get them all together, you have a fifth, and that's how you want to play. And so that's what Coach K said. If they're separate, it's not as strong, right? If I slap you with my hand, it's not going to hurt as much as if I hit you with my fist, right? And so that's what Coach K was saying is you got to be together to be stronger. So the first law of teamwork is the law of significance. So one is too small a number to achieve greatness. So we have this picture of Michael Jordan here with the Bulls. If it's just Michael when he was younger, without Scottie Pippen, without Dennis Rodman and these other guys, he wasn't the Bulls weren't as good because it was one great player, but it was just only one guy pretty much. Now with these great teammates, look how good of a team he had, right? Probably one of the greatest. And so teamwork is the heart of great achievement. And so people still want to do things by themselves because of what? There's ego, insecurity, and just, being naive or being angry or having a temperament. It's the selfishness that people have. And I would say even more so now because it's like, I want to have a highlight film so I could put it on Instagram. I could put it on Twitter. I want people to see me. And that's the type of attitude that players and people have now. But that's not the most important thing that you really need to have, because coaches see that and they're the ones that are in charge of the playing time. Selfish people aren't going to be getting playing time. And you could score 50 points and still be an unselfish person because of the type of shots that you're getting. So if you're taking great shots, but you're still getting buckets, a coach is not going to be upset at that. But if you're shooting 30 shots to try to get, 50 point, or like 50 shots to try to get 50 points, like coaches aren't having that. And so, it's very important that you have this team perspective. Number two is the law of the big picture. So I have this photo here of the Spurs. They had all these pieces, and you can see that they had a goal in mind, especially that year when they lost to the Miami Heat. There's a bigger picture, right? The goal is more important than the role. A lot of guys get this wrong. There's like, oh man, I'm not starting. Um, I'm not the main scorer. I'm not the starter. I'm not the sixth man off the bench, or I'm the 12th guy out on the bench. Like, and sometimes there's times where we need to be a role player. Sometimes there's times we need to be a defender. Sometimes we need to be a rebounder. Sometimes we just need to be the guy that passes the ball. And sometimes we got to be the scorer. So there's different roles for everyone, and we have to see what the bigger picture is, right? The bigger picture is we want to win as a team. How can we perform as a team? What is your place on the team? And so, looking at the picture, we try to make sense of the situation. We want to make sure that we're putting players in the right places. And we got to give up our personal agendas so that we can look at the big pictures, which is to win a championship, right? Or whatever the goal is for your team, is to make it to the playoffs, is to make it to the national tournament, something along those lines. We got to look at the bigger picture instead of, the immediate goal to get a bucket or to shoot my shot that I want to take. This guy has been shooting so many times. I'm tired of passing him the ball, or, it's sometimes those things could get to us, especially when we have someone that's selfish on our team. It's hard not to be selfish as well. But if we look at the bigger picture, coaches love that. And if you have a good coach, they'll see that and they'll want to play you more. The law of the niche. Okay, so this law means that all players have a place where they add the most value. So we look at this photo of the dream team, right? Not everyone can score. Not everyone should be shooting the ball, right? John Stockton shouldn't be the main scorer. He can get buckets, but he's a better passer. He's a better driver, right? Guys that should be scoring are Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, the big guys. Those are the type of guys that should be scoring, right? And then there's guys that are distributing, playing defense. Everyone has their role. And so a team fails to find its potential when members are in the wrong position, right? So what that means is, like, let's just say Christian Laettner in this photo is taking all the shots. Maybe USA loses, in the championship to Serbia. Maybe, they don't beat Angola. Maybe they don't beat some of those teams because Laettner is starting, or maybe anyone else on that team that is in the score is shooting all the shots. So, we have to be able to know what our role is within a team. We just started this development league. A lot of you guys are kind of knowing who you are playing with. You're starting to realize, okay, this guy is really good shooter, or this guy is a good driver. Maybe my job is to play defense and rebound. Coaches, scouts, agents, they love when you have a certain role. Why? Because if you're a defender or you're a rebounder, you're a shooter or a passer, some teams need those things. They need that part to be able to fit into their team. So coaches aren't just going to go out there and be like, oh man, this guy's really good, let me use him. But you might not be needed in that position. And so they're looking for a certain role for someone to fit that role. And you know, if you can fit that role, hopefully you can find somewhere, you can find your niche that someone can rely on you and your abilities. The next law is the law of Mount Everest. All right. So as the challenge escalates, the need of teamwork elevates. Here's an amazing quote. Ask not what your teammates can do for you, but what you can do for your teammates. That was Magic Johnson, and he was considered the best player ever before Michael Jordan. Um, and even some people still consider him one of the greatest players. Um, but the size of the team must be the size of the dream. So, for instance, here we have all these different challenges and issues, right? The law of Mount Everest. What is the challenge? You know, what is the teamwork that we need, right? So the new challenge. Well, there's a new challenge. We got to be creative in how to fix this problem. There's a controversial challenge. We need to be united. There's the changing challenge. We have to be flexible. We have to be a fast changing team. The unpleasant challenge. We have to be a motivated team. There's been situations when I've played for a coach, you know, that he wasn't the best coach ever, and it was an unpleasant situation. But you know, you have to stay motivated yourself. It has to be an intrinsic thing, because if you're asking someone, "Hey, I'm only going to be good if the coach is good," you know, not all coaches are good coaches. I've seen a lot, and um, I know a lot of high school coaches that can coach at the college level, but they don't because they don't have that opportunity. And I see a lot of college coaches that aren't really good coaches, or they're just decent. They're nothing special. And so, you know, personal intrinsic motivation is very, very important. And we talked about this earlier. You know, the type of character you have and the attitude you have is important. Those are things that you can control. You can't control if the coach is going to put you in the game, but you can control if you're happy, you're excited, you're clapping on the sideline for your teammates, you're trying to do your best. So there's these different challenges that we have, and as these situations happen, we need to have better teamwork. The law of the chain. I love this picture because in this quote, the strength of the team is impacted by its weakest link. We have these metal chains and then this little small skinny rope. And obviously, if you put some pressure, some weight, it's going to snap. And so the same thing for us as teams. Obviously, we can't control who's on our team and who we're playing with right now. But if you're a leader and you're that weakest link, you got to get better, right? And if you know there's someone on your team that's the weakest link, you got to push them, right? Got to push them to get better. And so, um, you know, sometimes we have to talk to ourselves. We have to think about what's our role, and you know, if we're that weakest link, we have to ask ourselves these questions. You know, am I willing to take the journey to get better? Should I take the journey? Can I take the journey? Can I get better? Can I improve? If I'm a starter already, how can I become the best player on the team? How can I become the best leader on the team to help us, you know, help elevate the team? And so there's a lot of things that we can do to help impact what a team looks like. The law of the catalyst. So um, you know, you could say that Phil Jackson was the catalyst for these two teams. But obviously, Phil had some great players, some great leaders as well. I think both guys here, Michael Jordan and Kobe, both had to grow into these roles. They weren't the best leaders to start off with, but they've definitely grew into that. And so here are some things that describe a catalyst. And are you willing to be this type of person? You know, are you intuitive? Do you communicate? Are you passionate? Do you have talent? Are you trying to improve to get that talent? Are you creative? Do you initiate things? Hey, let's go training. Let's go to the weight room. Let's go out to run. Are you responsible? Are you on time? Are you communicating when you can't arrive at practice on time, or you can't make it because of an emergency? Are you generous? You know, does a teammate need a ride? Um, you know, do you need to put the balls away for the coach? Do you need to stay a little bit longer to clean the floor? Are you doing those type of things to help your team out? And are you influential? Do people, you know, see you're like, man, that guy, he motivates me to get better because he works really hard? Are you that type of person? So these winning teams have players who make these things happen. And to become a better person, if you want to be a pro, you have to be a catalyst. Like, especially if you're a guard, because bigs come and go. They always, you know, they're always going to get bigs, but you're, as a guard, you have to be this type of person, and people will keep you around long because you're this type of the person. I'm sure you guys have heard tons of stories where they're like, yeah, that guy was great in the locker room, so you know he was on the team, he was on the bench. Like someone like a, what's his name, Haslam on the Miami Heat. He was there a long time, never played, maybe at the last couple minutes, but he would be on the team because he was great for that team in the locker room. He was a great leader, and he probably had a lot of these different things on this list. The law of the compass. So vision gives team members direction and confidence. Okay, so usually a coach will give a vision of the team. All right. If he doesn't, it's the team's objective and the captains and the leaders of that team to try to make a goal. Obviously, in this small development league that we have, probably the vision is going to be to get better individually as a team and to win the championship. You know, there's 4 teams out there. And so um you know, there has to be some type of vision. And so um you can't get to a championship if you don't have, you know, that vision to think, even think about a championship. And so the leader's responsibility is to always state and restate the vision of the team. um and so when you guys are on your college teams, or even on this development team or on a pro team, and you see that the coach doesn't have one, you need to call a team meeting and say, look guys, what do we want to do as a team? What do we want to achieve? And then as practices go along, like, hey guys, you know, we're going to this, we have this goal in mind, and we need to continue to fight for this goal, you know. I remember watching a YouTube video recently of JJ Redick when he was on the Pelicans, and it was him and Drew Holiday that were talking in this conversation, and they were laughing about a situation because JJ Redick had planned to go bonkers on his teammates. It was a planned, angry, fiery, um, you know, speech that he had right before a game. And so they are on a like 12 game losing streak or something like that. And he goes in there, he starts throwing water bottles everywhere. And he's yelling, cussing out the guys and just going off on them. And then they ended up like winning the game. And so um, it's those type of times where, you know, a leader steps up. And it was funny because as JJ Redick is doing all this, you know, and he told Drew Holiday, like, I'm gonna go crazy, watch. Drew Holiday was like, yes, yes. Why? Because they had the same vision. It's like, man, we don't want to keep losing, man. Let's get better. We need to keep our team accountable to our goal that we have, and it's not to be losing, right? So here we go. All right, next one. We got about 10 minutes left. The law of the bad apple. So here's this photo of Kobe. He's got the black mamba face going on right now. He's not a rotten apple. There were times where he did have a bad attitude, and you could kind of see this photo kind of shows a little bit of it. But I think this photo just kind of embodies what someone with a bad attitude might look like. And this is something that we talked about already, right? Is that attitudes can really lift up or tear a team down, and so you have to have that mindset um, to be a good apple, right? And to have a positive attitude. The law of accountability. So teammates must be able to count on each other when it counts. So character plus competence plus commitment plus consistency plus cohesion is what accountability is. So for yourself, can you guys ask yourselves this question? Is your integrity questionable? You know, when people aren't looking, are you doing the right thing? Are you working hard? Are you getting better? Or is it only, you know, when people are watching, when coach says, hey, run lines, are you touching all the lines? Are you cheating yourself? Do you perform work with excellence? Are you just out there just to practice? Or are you like going 110%? Are you dedicated to the team's success, or are you dedicated to your own success? Can you depend, can you be depended on every time? So I think one of the best compliments that you can ever receive from a coach or even a boss, it's like, man, that guy is dependable. I can count on him. I know when I tell him to do something, he's going to do it. Um, and that's great. You know, it's like you don't want the coach looking down the sideline. You're like, nah, man, Johnny, I can't put him in. He's not reliable. You know, and so you want to be able for someone to count on you. The law of the price tag. So I think this is where a lot of teams fail to reach their potential because they fail to pay the price. You know, it's like we want a championship, we want to be the champions, and yet they're not willing to work hard to become champions. Here we see these guys here in this photo running. It's like, look at those guys at the back and then look at the guys in the front. It's like the guys in the front are willing to put that effort in. The guys in the back are probably just jogging. They're not really trying to give their best effort, right? So you get what you put in. If you don't give a lot of effort, then you're not going to get the results that you want. The law of the scoreboard. The team can make adjustments when it knows where it stands. So this is a very difficult thing. The scoreboard is essential to understanding, evaluating, decision making, adjusting, and winning. So when you know what to do, the you can do what you know. And so um, I really like this one because a lot of us tend to see ourselves as better than what we really are. And so one thing that you guys can do is ask people, ask your coaches, ask your teammates. It's like, hey man, what do you think I could do to get better? You know, and you'll start to hear, if you start hearing similar things, everyone's saying the same, oh, you need to be a better driver, or you need to be a better defender. It's like it's consistent, and that means it's probably true. And so that's something that you need to have is self-awareness to know, like, okay, I'm this type of person and I need to be able to change. And so when you know that you have some flaws, it's like you can work on that, and you know where you stand, and you know that you can improve. The law of the bench. Great teams have great depth. I used to have this photo here as well of I'm going to butcher their name. The University of Monmouth, whatever. They used to like jump up after every made shot. They would like, you know, play the air guitars, the threes. They would jump on each other. They had like the best bench ever. They were, you know, really excited and motivated, and they would always be cheering for each other. But there's always the basketball aspect is like, are these players great? Are they going to become, are they very helpful to the team, you know? And so um, you have to have a great starting five, but you also have to have a great bench. And so if you're a bench player, just know that you have a role to play. And, you know, it coming off the bench is sometimes even better than starting, because it's not always about starting, but it's also about ending the game. It's like, is the coach counting on you? Just like we talked about in the law of accountability. Does he count on you when he needs it? And sometimes that's more important than being a starter. So this great quote by John Maxwell: a great starter alone is simply not enough if a team wants to go to the highest level. So bench players are very key. Role players are key. The law of identity. So shared values define a team. So, as you guys are in this development league, you guys have to have a set of values that you guys all agree on. Obviously, we're in this to develop. You guys bought into that. That's why it's a development league. You guys are here to get exposure and opportunities, and you guys are here to win. So it's something we're trying to improve, and so those are the values that we have as a league. Now, what are your values that you have? And you need to communicate those with your teammates. It's like, hey man, let's get better at this. Let's keep each other accountable on this, and that's going to make you guys a great team and a great person. Coaches love leaders like that, love people that communicate, right? Here's a great photo, because you see Kobe and Shaq probably communicating, but there was a lack of communication there, and that's why Shaq got ran out, because he just was tired of Kobe. Kobe was becoming a better basketball player, and Shaq wasn't looked at as the best basketball player in Los Angeles by the administration, even though he might have still been the best player. They wanted Kobe to be the best player, and Shaq didn't like that, and so their communication broke down. And so it is very important to be able to communicate on the court and as well as off the court. And lastly, we have three more. The law of the edge. The difference between two equally talented teams is leadership. And so there's a lot of things here that talk about what good leaders are. But if you guys read over this, it's what kind of leader are you? And so go over this. This is going to be recorded, and you guys could see what these type of leaders are. The law of high morale. When you're winning, nothing hurts, right? It's great. When you're winning, everything is going great, right? But if you're losing, it sucks. And so we have to try to, as leaders, to keep the morale high. Lastly, the law of the dividends. Investing in the team compounds over time. And so a team is not going to become better overnight. It takes a lot of time. So the time is about to expire. I want you guys to go ahead and if we end this conversation, to just kind of log back into the same link, and we'll be able to start over. So I think we have a couple minutes left, if not, or if our time isn't over. Do you guys have any questions?
No, I'm good. I understand all of it.
What are some takeaways that you guys have? What are some things that you really liked?
I like the part that you were talking about, how real leaders are accountable and they're responsible, and they take on ownership to get teams involved with activities